Hey guys and girls or whoever's watching, welcome to part 8 of the Spanish tutorials. Let's get started. So in our last tutorial, we went over how to ask for a person's birthday and how to say various holiday names in Spanish. And as we learned from our last tutorial, the word for when is your birthday is cuando es tu cumpleaños. And if you're talking about your own birthday in response to a question, you would say mi cumpleaños, my birthday, es el, for example, 15 de octubre, 15th of October. And to mention someone else's birthday in conversation, you would say el cumpleaños de, the birthday of, person's name, es el, for example, 17 de agosto, August 17th. So here are some holiday names in Spanish. So as we learned in the last tutorial, Pascua means Easter, and it has the same root as the Hebrew word Pesach, which means Passover, which makes sense because most of them they usually take place around the same time of year. Then Dia de las Madres is literally Day of the Mothers, or Mother's Day, and the same goes for Dia de los Padres, which is Father's Day. And just like in English, we can call it Independence Day by its actual name or by its date, the 4th of July. We can do the same thing in Spanish by saying El Día de la Independencia, or meaning Day of Independence, or simply Cuatro de Julio. Then Halloween is just Halloween, right? Since most countries that don't speak English also don't celebrate Halloween. Then El Día de Acción de Gracias literally means Day of Action of Thanks, or simply Thanksgiving Day. Then Navidad is Christmas, like in the song Feliz Navidad. So we got a lot to cover today. Let's get started. So before we begin today, I'd like to introduce you to some transition words and other function words you might need for a conversation. So sí just means yes. The no just means no. It can also be used to form the negative version of a sentence, like me gusta, I like, and no me gusta, meaning I don't like. Then como can mean like or as, but remember, with an accent mark it means how. Without an accent mark, like you see there, it means like or as. Then con means with, like a connection has a relationship that involves multiple things. And sin is without, um, just like sans in French. Then pero can mean but be careful when you're writing this because it means dog when written with two R's. Then por or para, I'll get to this in a couple later tutorials. Depending on context can mean for. And a couple phrases you might have seen before involve the word de, which means of. Then E is and O is or. So the last two are just simple one-letter expressions that will come in handy when you need to make compound sentences. Alright, so our question for today is ¿Qué idiomas hablas? Which means what languages do you speak? So to answer this, you just say yo hablo, that means I speak, and then say the language name. For example, I could say yo hablo inglés y español. That means I speak English and Spanish. So this is where our transition words and connecting words come in handy. And if you know that someone speaks another language, you can ask for a translation by saying como se dice, and then saying the word en, meaning in, and then the name of the language that you want it translated into. For example, como se dice English en español, meaning how do you say English in Spanish? And in case you want to answer this question yourself, here are some common languages and the Spanish names for them. So Inglés, as we've seen from the previous slide, means English. Then Chino is Chinese. The Spanish is usually called Español, but medieval Spanish, and that spoken in certain dialects of Spanish spoken in Europe can be called Castellano. and Frances is French. And here's where it gets weird because Alemán means German. Then Griego means Greek. If you remember back to when we were learning the alphabet, the word for Y, Y, literally means Greek I, because the Spanish letter Y and the Greek letter I make a very similar sound. And for other Romance languages, the words are very similar to English, as in Italiano for Italian and Portuguese for Portuguese. And it gets a little weirder because Polacco means Polish and Árabe means Arabic. And the spelling is a bit more logical in Spanish, in that Checo means Czech. And I'm sorry if I lied when I said that was our question for the day. We actually have two. So now that we know how to say the date in Spanish, it's time we answer the question ¿Cuál es la fecha? That just means what is the date in Spanish? And to answer, you just say hoy, that means today, es el, and then add in the number and month and the date number and month name. For example, as of when I'm recording this video, hoy es el 5 de julio. Today is July 5th. You can also replace the date with holiday names if you're expressing that today is a holiday. For example, hoy es mi cumpleaños, to say that today is your birthday. And remember that month and weekday names do not need to be capitalized, and as we've seen from our example, neither do language names. So here is some calendar-related vocabulary, starting with the word for calendar itself, el calendario. So hoy is today, ayer means yesterday, and mañana means tomorrow, and it's the same as the word for morning. It's usually when you say in the morning, it refers to tomorrow morning. And semana is week. You can think of it as resembling the word seven because there's 7 days in a week. Then I can mean there is or there are. You can use it as either singular or plural, as in there is a hay het on almost every farm, or hay bale. So another mnemonic device that I use to remember it. Then mes means month, and año is year, as in cumpleaños, literally the turning of years. Then fiesta, as seen in our previous tutorial, usually means party, but it has the same Latin root as our words festival and festivity to describe a holiday. So here are some example sentences using these words. It's okay if you don't understand every word in here. I try to make it as simple as I can. But let me hit out loud these sentences. And Spanish vocabulary words are highlighted in the same color as their corresponding English words. Un calendario me ayuda a conocer la fecha. Hoy vamos a comprar. Ayer es el 4 de julio. Yet I'm sorry if it literally says yesterday is the 4th of July, but at this point we don't really know enough Spanish to do past tense yet, so I just left it as present. It's as much as we need to know for now. Mañana es un otro día. Hay 7 días en una semana. ¿Cuál es la mes? Yo tengo 15 años. Mi fiesta favorita es Navidad. El sábado y el domingo hacen la fin de semana. So feel free to use these example sentences for as much practice as you want. But that is it for today's video. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be back with another Spanish tutorial pretty soon. Adios!